So Classcraft is a way to gamify your classroom. So gamification is using your class and creating a video game atmosphere. So students create characters, and based on those characters, you can award them points for doing good things. You can take away health for negative behaviors, and you come up with all of these rules and settings with your students. So the students buy in, and it might seem crazy to you and I, but the kids love it.
Classcraft meets some urgent and immediate needs that we have for our teachers to build capacity around social emotional learning. Classcraft, being a game, is all about winning, and it's all about positivity. So there's a goal in mind. It's not just like, let me get the most number of points at the end of the day for no clear reason other than I don't want to get in trouble. It's, I want to progress to the next level so I can buy this really cool armor, or I want to level up so I get this new power. So because it's a game and there are clear goals and it's all based on that positive upward mobility of your character, the response to poor choices or negative behavior aren't about punitive damage to the character or the child. It's about learning moments of, gosh, every time I make this choice, I get further away from my goal. And I think the really cool thing about Classcraft is these goals aren't artificial in nature. It's not, here's a piece of candy, or here's a sticker or a t-shirt. It's, I get more time on an exam and I need that. I get to move to sit next to a student who I really want to work with today. And I like that these materialize in actual authentic powers for our students.
It makes me excited too, because I've been doing this for 20 years. And so for the last couple of years, you felt kind of out of touch because as I get older, the kids aren't getting older, and the kids are getting, they're getting interested in things that I'm not as familiar with. So bringing this into the classroom has made me more excited about what I'm doing because their passion is contagious to me and my excitement is contagious to them as well. So we kind of feed off of each other. We have a good time. We have a lot of fun with it.
We're studying the periodic table and elements, and so I wanted a way to kind of, after they learned everything, to review it before it was time to take a big test. The test is coming up later this week, and so if I zoom out, you can see that there are actually 3 different islands that you can choose from when you're designing quests. And once you've chosen an island by clicking on it, you then can choose a map. This is the map I chose, but when you get started, you can choose whichever map you want. And then on the map, you can choose literally anywhere on the map to place your different tasks. So I started with an introduction where I told my students they were visiting the fictional world of Periodicus. And as they go along, they're trying to beat the boss, the monster called Quizor, because they're about to take a quiz. I told them what they would need to complete the quest, including headphones. And my students are old enough where they saw this as just cheesy enough to be really, really funny. So they really got into it, not because the story seemed real, but because it's so sort of fantasy-like, and they really like that. So the way the introduction is set up is all they have to do is read this. There's no reward for that, but that sets the stage for everything else. And then they immediately were allowed to go to the first task here. And then once they completed that task successfully, I checked that they had done it. I verified it. If we go to this section right here, there's a story here that explains the myth of why they're doing what they're doing. And then there's a task which asked them to draw 3 interlocking rings on a piece of paper. And then there was an assignment where they submitted a picture of that finished Venn diagram, 3-way Venn diagram. My students did this through Google Drive. So once they've put a document into Google Drive or an image, they can easily submit it to you through the quests. And you can see I could have enabled a reward for early hand-in. I didn't, but that was an option available to me. And I can also have a discussion around it. In the Progress tab, I can see where every student is. I can see the work they've submitted by clicking here. I can either say that yes, they've successfully completed that objective, or no, they haven't. And then they either get stuck where they are. Later on, they could be sent onto a different branching path, or they move on. And so eventually everybody moved on to the next part. This next one was another document that I asked them to complete and resubmit to me. Third task was an Ed Puzzle video. So Ed Puzzle, if you haven't used it, allows you to take videos like on YouTube or TED Education, and you could embed questions, comments into that video. So my students did that. The only catch here is that to see if they'd completed it, I had to log into the Ed Puzzle site. And so that was one extra step, but I just kept the 2 tabs open. It wasn't really a big deal. And when they're done, they get the reward and they get to move on to the next step. My next step was actually a practice quiz, which I created a Google quiz that was similar to the one that they're going to be taking on Friday. Similar, but not identical. And they took it. It was 10 questions long. And I forced them to retake it until they got a perfect score. So they couldn't move on until they'd had a perfect score. And then in the discussion area, I asked them what they liked or disliked about quests. Got some great feedback about how I can use it better in the future. And then concluded with the final task, which has no reward of its own, but it sort of anticlimactically announced that they arrived at the castle to find that the monster was already gone. They had already defeated him. So that was my first quest. I think it went really well, and I'm looking forward to using more of them in the near future.